Hello. Okay. Person is there. Okay. Good afternoon to you all. Welcome to the live session on the course TALE. We have, as of now, only one query. What are principles of instructional design? The TALE course itself doesn't focus on much on instructional design, but there are several principles of instructional design. The most fundamental is it should be whatever you do. Instruction means you are conducting a set of learning activities for the students to achieve something. The learning activities may include the regular lecturing by the teacher. That is one way of information transfer. Another one is there could be a discussion activity. There could be some engagement activity like solving a problem or demonstrating something, an experiment, or writing something on the board, and so on. But whatever you do, whatever activities that we are doing, the purpose is to facilitate the students to attain whatever outcome that towards which you are working. For example, either at the end of a lecture or end of a 2-3 class sessions, you want the students to be able to do something. And that's what we have defined as outcomes. You want the students to attain the outcomes. Now, there are you are now prescribing actually what you want the students to are the instructional activities. Now, the most basic things are your instruction should be effective. That means whatever you do, which is not a unique one, whatever you do, the student should be able to attain that particular outcome. That is being effective. And the next one is the activity should be engaging. That means the student should be able to engage with the new knowledge and skills that you are trying to impart. Right? He must get engaged. He cannot just merely remain as passive learner, passive listener. And the third one is it should be efficient. You should be able to do it in the given time. Sometimes if you have enough time, there are all kinds of instructional methods which can be very, very effective. But if I take instead of 3 classroom sessions, if I require 15 classroom sessions to be effective, then it will not work out in our system. So it should also be efficient. So instruction should be effective, engaging, and efficient. That's why we call it E3 instruction. Remember, there is no unique way of doing any of these things. Each teacher will find out what he or she thinks is the most effective one. And if you want another principle is the instruction should be in alignment with your outcomes. Okay? Alignment means I should not be doing, I may be doing excellent instruction, but it may not be leading the student to this particular goal that we have, like attaining the outcome. It should be in alignment with that. So that is another principle you can say. I do not know whether that answers your question. If you have any particular further query, you're welcome to ask. Okay, query. Another question is, in outcome-based education, product define the process. What it means is, our product is what we want the student to be able to do something which we have defined in advance, right? That is what outcomes are about. We define the outcomes. That means what you are saying at the end of the course, the student should be able to do this, and so on. And that we have now, in the most of those things are in the cognitive domain. So once you define the product, the processes are, what are the processes associated in any teaching learning activity? One is the instruction, the other one is assessment. That means the instruction and assessment should be decided by the goal or the product. So the product defines the goal. It is not as if I teach what I think is appropriate or useful, and then ask questions in the examination on what I have taught. But many times what happens is our emphasis on certain aspects of the subject or the kind of things that we have done can differ from one to the other for the same course. So we define in advance what the product should be or what the outcome should be. And then the process, namely the instruction and assessment, should be in complete alignment with the defined product. Okay, that's what we mean by product defines the process. For example, any physical product that you want to manufacture, you have to define the product completely, right? What kind of components it has, or what kind of materials it uses, and each part, how it is to be manufactured, all that we have. And the process of manufacturing is completely decided by the product that you want to manufacture. That's what we mean. Same way with respect to our product are the outcomes to be attained. Any other query or clarification? The next query is any limited standard action verbs for 6 levels in Bloom's taxonomy. Any limited there is nothing like that. We have given you some. Maybe you can also, people have added to that to indicate the same type of activity. Any action verb that you use, like for example in apply, whether it is execute or implement, estimate, type of activity. Sorry, there was a little network problem. I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let me say the same question. Any limited standard action verbs for 6 levels in Bloom's taxonomy? I'm not very clear. We have given you some limited number of action verbs related to each sub-process as well as each level of the Bloom's taxonomy. Remember that what we have done in the course, we have restricted ourselves to only cognitive domain. Though we mentioned that the other 2 domains are important, but we have not really addressed that. Okay, now the action verbs are fairly straightforward. It should be indicative of what kind of cognitive activity the student should perform. Is he solving a problem, or is he trying to explain something, compare something, and so on? That comes under understand. Or it merely is what do you call remembering, which means either recognize or recall. Like you use verbs like state, describe, remember. You can use the words like identify and so on. Sometimes the action verbs, because of we have only limited number of terms available to us, in a particular action verb may belong to different cognitive levels. Like identify, if you take, it can belong to remember level, or it can belong to understand level, it can belong to even analyze level, and so on. So you have to use your judgment when you are writing your outcomes, or when you are trying to design any items for assessment. Okay, I hope that that is clear. Okay, the next one is in COs for tier 1 colleges, is it necessary to include knowledge level along with cognitive level? See, many of these things, whatever we have presented to you, how to write COs, this is one method, okay? After a lot of testing with faculty in various courses, we have come up with this kind of a structure. Now, why should we include knowledge level along with cognitive level? Cognitive level is very clear that people even ask to be included so that relevant cognitive levels are all addressed. Why we include knowledge level is that when you are designing your assessment items or when you are even instructing, are you really going to touch all the knowledge components in that with respect of that particular CO, right? I may write an excellent one with a large number of knowledge elements in that, but I might restrict my instruction only to a subset of that, or I may only ask questions on subset of those knowledge elements. So to make sure that we are addressing, we include knowledge level and we focus on that, especially when you are planning your instruction or when you are designing your assessment. That is the reason why we included knowledge level when we write the CO. Does that answer the question, please? Can you discuss the difference between teaching pedagogy and innovation in teaching? Let me see, because these two words totally belong to different categories. Pedagogy means how you are conducting. The pedagogy is related to actually leading someone towards a goal. Okay, that is literally the meaning of that. And to reach a particular goal, there can be several routes. That's why different teachers can follow different methods of teaching. For example, in a given, depending on the subject matter or depending on the kind of students you have, you may decide that is a topic that I'm dealing with. I try to describe real world problems in the beginning of the class to motivate them. That is one aspect of your teaching. The choice of those activities as per the team will constitute one particular route. Now, innovation in teaching would mean there are so many instructional, we call them components. Okay, like I may use a little animated, I may show a small video in the class, or I may show some graphic representation of something. I may draw a block diagram, or I may ask the student to come and explain something on the board. there are endless number of such activities that you can do, and depending on the nature of the subject, you may use different things. There are, in the literature, you have practically endless number of things people have done. But what is done with respect in a particular context on a particular subject may or may not be relevant in the other context in other subject. So each one will have to explore, and that you can call it innovation. But when you say you're actually innovating, not just being different, you also have to establish that whatever that you are doing is more effective in that particular context. Okay? Context will include everything: physical environment, the kind of students you have, the nature of the subject, and so on and on. They will all be, whatever you have done, if it is effective in that particular context. And you can share that your approach with the data that you have gathered about its report, let's say, on your website. Okay. Else? Yep. What is cell labeled as 6, 3 in revised Bloom's taxonomy? The way we presented it as, in the case of engineering subjects, we called it 6 by 8. Okay, 8 knowledge levels and 6 cognitive levels. And engineering science, mathematics, social science subjects, we restrict ourselves to 4 categories of knowledge. But in either way, 6, 3 will represent, 6 is the cognitive level, 6 corresponds to create, 3 corresponds to the apply. So 6, 3 would represent cognitive activity is create, and 3 represents apply activity. Apply can be again, it can be any sub process like execute and implement. Whereas 6 create, you can ask the student to create a problem, for example. That is also a way of learning for the students. You don't have to. There can also be a difficulty level that is associated. You can pose as a challenge to the student in the classroom, say, create a problem on that particular whatever topic you are dealing with at the difficulty level 3, which belongs to implement level. We can give it as an assignment or as a challenge also. The student will have to really understand what that particular subject is, what are the principles involved, and it is also create. So he is now able to create something on his own. But that kind of activities, I may not be able to design an assignment. So 6, 3 represents create and apply. Okay, before maybe some of you are thinking of you're still thinking of what kind of issues you want to address. Let me bring it to your attention. The registrants for this course might be coming from tier 1 institutions or tier 2 institutions, right? And what happened, the current mechanism, which is represented like if your college wants to go for accreditation, you are going to, you have to fill an SAR. First, let me complete this and then I'll come back to answer the query. The SAR were written in practically 2015-16 period. All the rules, for example, the fact the courses should be offered as per OBE requirements, and how do you demonstrate that you have attained your outcomes? How do you compute? All that has to be demonstrated and shown as a part of SAR. Now, those rules have significantly got modified. A new structure for the SAR has been brought out. It was released only maybe 2 or 3 weeks back. We came across that only yesterday. And that too, right now, tier 1 institutions, SAR structure has been released. A tier 2 SAR structure would be coming very soon, within a few weeks. So those of you who are likely to get involved in preparing SAR after January 1st, presented in tail, they belong to the 2015 era. Okay, so quite a few things will have to be, some slightly, some significantly have to be modified. That means the marks allocated for criteria have changed, and the titles of the criteria themselves have changed. There is one criteria, there are now only 8 criteria instead of 10. And the number of program outcomes have been reduced from 12 to 11. And there is what is called WK, what you call knowledge and attitudes. There are 9 of them that have been defined. You have to take care of that while you are writing your CBO. So the whole exercise will have to be kind of modified. But the structure, that the table we gave you for writing CBOs, that we find practically remains the same. Okay. Now coming back to query 7, we have written the CBO statement in Bloom's level 5. Please discuss methods to assess, to check the attainment of that particular CBO. Level 5 is evaluate. Evaluate, what happens is, the kind of questions that you ask, you cannot say simply check whether something is correct or not. That will not be adequate. You are now, what is happening is there are multiple solutions, multiple ways of doing something. When there are multiple solutions, out of which you have to select one. On what basis do you select? Okay. Are there any criteria based on which you measure something? Some of those criteria could be quantitative, Some of them could be qualitative. And normally what happens, the way most of the engineering courses are offered right now, we do not indulge in that kind of evaluate activity. Maximum it can be done is in the projects that you conduct. Okay, in projects you can have that. I don't know, there is a black square that has come on the screen. Right, thank you. So you can give that. It requires a lot of planning by the teacher to design such assignment, and they can be given as an assignment, or it can be given as a group assignment as well. It's a like let us say in some civil engineering you are trying to take design of some bridge is the assignment. First of all, design of a bridge to a certain set of specifications itself will take to specify will take a lot of time. But then bridge is not something a hypothetical one on a piece of paper. If it is getting constructed, it is supposed to be constructed at a given location. There are lots of issues around that. And so when you put all those criteria, you really have to, generally you will end up with, there is no unique solution for it. But there may be several solutions out of which you want to select the best. And that constitutes what you call evaluate. That's why level 5 Bloom will take considerable effort to plan and even solve. Hello. Okay. So once again, we invite you to ask any other clarifications. If there are no further questions, thank you very much for participating in this and raising issues, which is good because in our way of offering NPTEL course, you don't have the possibility of dialogue when it is actually the material is presented. So this is good. And also it tells us where there are some vaguenesses in the kind of material that was presented. So we can correct in the future situations. Thank you very much for your participation. Have happy learning, as we always NPTEL says. Okay, there is one last query. To what cognitive level does the activity compare memory mapped IO and peripheral? It belongs to cognitive level, understand. Comparing. There are two things, and comparing, you have certain elements of properties of that, and along those properties, in what way one differs from the other. That is the activity you do, and that kind of activity is belongs to understand. Compare is a sub-process of understand. Okay, Happy learning and thank you.